It was a beautiful day. The sun was shining. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. I met a friend for breakfast at a local coffee shop, and then I went to work. 12 hours later, I was on a ventilator in the ICU, where I remained for 2 days. I was on a ventilator due to an intentional overdose in an attempt to end my life. Now, I could tell you about all the events and the feelings leading up to that night on June 17th, 2014. But the simple explanation is, I lost hope. Every year, it is estimated 46,000 individuals in the United States die by suicide. That's one death every 11 minutes. In our state of Wisconsin, in 2020, 861 people, our friends, family, community members, died by suicide. Through sharing my story, I'm going to tell you what hope is, how to obtain it, and how to ignite it in others. Because loss of hope or hopelessness is a known risk factor for suicide. So back in 2014, after my attempt, and after I was medically stable, I was placed on an emergency detention, I was handcuffed, and I was securely transported to a psychiatric hospital. Now, sitting in the back seat of the deputy squad, I realized I had pretty much hit rock bottom. Never in a million years did I think that I'd end up where I was. In fact, just 16 months before, I had worked with that same deputy in what had been my role as a crisis intervention specialist. I was the one who responded to others in crisis. I was the one who told others about suicide prevention. It was also at that time that I came to the realization that I had 3 choices. I could continue as I was, which from the back seat did not look very appealing. Things could get worse, and I would die by suicide. Or things could get better. I chose the latter. Once I got to the psychiatric hospital, I asked the nurse for a pad of paper and a pen, and she actually gave me a dull pencil. I learned that pens were considered sharps, and psychiatric patients aren't allowed sharp objects. And I did some more reflection. I thought about where I was, how I got there, and where I wanted to be. I wrote down some things about my life, and just like a business develops a mission statement and has goals for its business, I developed a mission statement for my life. Keep moving forward. And my goal was to get my life back. The next day, my husband came to visit me. And I told him about my epiphany and how I intended to get my life back as we played a game of Scrabble. I told him that I was going to go back to school, get another degree, and that I wasn't going to compare myself to others anymore. And as I was telling him my plan, he looked down at the Scrabble board and he said, "That's not a word." And as I was about to argue with him that indeed it was a word, he said, "Well, given where you are right now, you can make up any word or see or hear anything that you want to." We laughed so hard. The power of laughter. Now there's another TEDx talk. Anyway, after I was discharged from the hospital, I took my goals
and I put them into action. I started EMDR, eye movement, desensitization, and reprocessing therapy to heal from past trauma. I enrolled in school, and I cut out all the negativity and toxicity in my life. Keep moving forward. I also began to practice self-care. Now, self-care to me wasn't just bubble baths, massages, and positive affirmations. Self-care to me was setting healthy boundaries and expectations for myself. Having been a people pleaser and an overachiever, which I had learned was to make up for my feelings of inadequacy and feeling like I just wasn't good enough, I began to accept myself just as I am, as an imperfect human being. You know those people on social media that appear to have it all? Posting smiling selfies. They have the most well-behaved children. They cook gourmet meals every night and manage to go to the gym 5 days a week. Yeah, I stopped following them. I now fill my feed and my soul with body-positive, life-affirming people and accounts. We need to stop idolizing perfection and start normalizing our struggles so we and others don't feel so alone. Keep moving forward. I forgave those who had hurt me, and I forgave myself. The Webster Dictionary defines hope as desire with expectation. Author and researcher Dr. Shane Lopez identified 3 key elements, a prescription for hope. The first one is having goals. Number 2, feeling empowered to shape your daily life. And number 3, identifying multiple pathways or avenues towards achieving those goals. Now, I didn't realize it at the time, but when I made that mission statement for my life and claimed I wanted to get my life back, I was doing exactly as the experts theorized. I was obtaining hope. There are over 2,000 studies on hope, dozens and dozens of studies where researchers look at the impact of hope. Hope has been correlated with less anxiety and depression, better overall physical well-being, increased self-esteem, and is the best predictor for overcoming life challenges. Hope is also a protective factor against suicide. And hope can be ignited and cultivated in others by helping our family and friends, children, clients, students, anyone and everyone identify their goals and visualize ways towards achieving those goals. We can ignite hope. Another way to ignite hope is by being kind. So in 2014, while I was still in the medical hospital, a social worker came into my room, and she gave me a card that read, "Everything will be okay in the end. If it's not okay, it's not the end." She had never met me. She didn't know me from Adam. Yet her simple words of encouragement and her kindness was it ignited the first spark of hope in me. There is an inherent connection between kindness and hope. Perhaps you've heard of Kevin Hines. Kevin Hines is a best-selling author, a speaker, and an award-winning film documentary filmmaker. In the year 2000, Kevin Hines attempted to take his life by jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge. In his book, Cracked, Not Broken, and his film, Suicide: The Ripple Effect, Kevin recalled how on the day he decided to take his life, that if one person would have shown him some compassion, he wouldn't have tried to take his life. No acts of kindness were performed, and he proceeded to jump. Fortunately, he survived, and today is spreading messages of hope, healing, and recovery. As for me, I did reach my goal of getting my life back. I am a social worker, and I have new goals of inspiring others. So, I leave you with this. Be kind, share a smile. I promise it'll be worthwhile. Be a light in the dark, the flame to ignite a spark. You never know what others are going through. Be the person you would want if it were you. Be kind, share a smile. I promise it'll be worthwhile. Be a light in the dark, the flame to ignite a spark, and hope always, hope always, hope